The Polyset BoardMax polyurethane roofing adhesive is convenient and very easy to use. Polyurethane roofing adhesive is designed to familiarize you with the startup and operating procedures for using the kit to ensure maximum performance is achieved. To apply Polyset BoardMax adhesive, you will need the following: 1 part A cylinder, 1 part B cylinder, a plastic bag containing color-wise static mixing nozzles, along with a 9/16" wrench and 1 applicator hose and gun assembly. The Polyset operating instructions are included inside each Part A box, written in English, Spanish, and French. If more mixing nozzles are needed, additional bags of color-wise nozzles are available for purchase. All product-specific TDS, SDS, and operating instructions are available by visiting icpadhesives.com. While using Polyset BoardMax adhesive, it is strongly recommended to use the proper personal protective equipment, clothing, eyewear, and gloves. Check with contractor or project superintendent for project-specific personal safety equipment. It is also strongly recommended that for areas on the roof that do not offer proper ventilation, the contractor wear protective respiratory equipment. For more information on personal protective equipment and environmental health and safety, please visit our website at icpadhesives.com. In cases of leaks or spills, follow the details outlined in the Polyset operating instructions, which can be found in the Part A box or on our website at icpadhesives.com. Before getting started, it is important to understand the temperature limitations of the Polyset BoardMax chemicals in the kit. The minimum acceptable ambient and deck temperature must be at least 30 degrees Fahrenheit and rising. The chemical temperatures in each cylinder must be maintained between 70 degrees and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. If cooler temperatures are anticipated, make arrangements to store the kits inside or otherwise protect the kits to maintain the chemicals at a temperature range of between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. To help protect the chemicals from warmer ambient conditions, the boxes have an integrated insulation pad located in the bottom of each box that minimizes the amount of heat transfer from the roof deck. In addition, the lids on the boxes are designed to shield the cylinders from direct sunlight to keep the chemicals from getting too hot. For this reason, the box lids should remain closed during use. Before using Polyset BoardMax adhesive, verify that both the Part A and Part B boxes have matching fill dates and can therefore be used together as a kit. Before starting to set up the kit, shake each box containing the cylinder of chemicals for about 1 to 2 minutes. Shaking the boxes side to side will help to better mix the chemicals inside of the cylinders. To begin the setup of the Polyset BoardMax kit, open the top of the Part A and Part B cylinder boxes, being careful not to tear the box tops. The BoardMax adhesive kit is designed to be operated with the A and B cylinders in the boxes with the tops closed and secured during use. Keeping the lids closed helps to maintain the proper temperature for the chemicals. The boxes keep the cylinders in an upright position while protecting the cylinders from the outside elements. Next, remove from inside the Part A box the applicator hose and gun assembly, the plastic bag containing color-wise nozzles and wrench, and the operating instructions. Read operating instructions prior to beginning job. Next, remove the rubber cylinder valve covers from both the Part A and Part B cylinders. Begin connecting the applicator hoses to the cylinders and tighten. The hoses are color-coded, with the red striped hose to be attached to the Part A cylinder and the black stripe hose attached to the Part B cylinder. Using the supplied wrench, tighten the hoses onto the cylinders, being careful not to over-tighten each hose. Once the hoses have been connected to each cylinder, slowly turn on the Part A and Part B cylinder valves by turning counterclockwise until fully open. Fresh chemical will be seen flowing from the cylinder into the hose assembly. Check for leaks at the hose and cylinder connections and tighten the hose fittings as necessary. Next, disengage the safety on the gun trigger and point the gun into a plastic bag. Pull the gun trigger halfway and spray the chemicals down into the plastic bag until there are 2 continuous streams of chemical flowing from the gun ports into the bag or waste container. This normally takes 2 to 3 seconds and serves to purge any air from the chemical hoses. Clean the face of the applicator with a rag or paper towel. Close the box securely. Place the boxes on a four-wheeled cart or wheelbarrow. This allows for easy movement of the kit while on the roof. Be sure to keep the boxes upright when dispensing the adhesive. Firmly attach a color-wise nozzle onto the face of the gun until you hear a distinct click which indicates the nozzle is completely attached. The kit is now ready to dispense the adhesive to the deck or substrate. The Polyset BoardMax roofing adhesive is designed to be used with various commercial roofing rigid insulation boards, cover boards, substrates, and deck types. Approved commercial roofing insulation boards include POLYISO board, both flat stock and tapered panels, polystyrene insulation boards, both expanded and extruded. The maximum size insulation board that can be applied with BoardMax adhesive is 4 foot by 4 foot. Approved cover board products include various gypsum, HD polyiso, and wood fiber cover boards. The maximum size cover board that can be applied with BoardMax adhesive is 4 foot by 4 foot. Approved commercial roofing deck types include structural concrete, most lightweight insulating concrete, 22-gauge steel decking, cementitious wood fiber decks, gypsum decking, plywood, and OSB deck types, plus existing built-up roofs. A complete list of approved substrates is included in the BoardMax technical data sheets, which are available at icpadhesives.com. This section of the video will show you how to use BoardMax for adhering insulation and coverboard products with a ribbon plied method. Polyset BoardMax polyurethane foam insulation adhesive is applied to the deck or substrate in beads or ribbons that expand to approximately 1.5 to 2.5 inches in width and rise to approximately 1 to 1.5 inches in height. On decks or substrates that are very uneven or rough, additional BoardMax should be applied to maximize contact between the insulation board and the deck. BoardMax beads are placed a maximum of 12 inches on center. At a 12-inch on-center bead placement, the approximate coverage for one kit of BoardMax ranges between 30 and 35 applied squares. The beads of adhesive can be placed in a vertical or horizontal configuration, depending on installer preference. Insulation board should be immediately placed onto the wet adhesive to allow the BoardMax to thicken and begin developing its initial bond. Temperatures between 30 degrees and 60 degrees Fahrenheit will have a slightly higher gel time reaction. In this temperature range, the insulation board should be walked into place approximately 2 to 3 minutes after spraying, again contingent upon proper gel time of the adhesive. Temperatures between 60 degrees and 80 degrees Fahrenheit will yield standard reaction rates, and the insulation board should be walked into place approximately 1 to 2 minutes after spraying, contingent upon proper gel time of the adhesive. Temperatures greater than 80 degrees Fahrenheit will yield quicker reaction times and an accelerated cure time. At these temperatures, the insulation board should be walked in approximately 30 seconds to 1 minute. Once the gel time occurs, the boards can be walked in and compressed to the deck substrate exhibiting limited slippage or movement. The board should be exposed to minimum traffic for at least 10 minutes, depending on temperature, after they've been walked into place to avoid breaking the bond. Membranes can be applied once the adhesive has achieved sufficient bond strength to the immediate substrate to which it is adhered. It is recommended that the contractor inspect the installed insulation for proper adhesion and re-adhere any boards or corners that are not adequately attached. Boards that will not lay flat due to cupping, warping, crowning, or irregularities in the deck surface should have weights placed on the corners of the boards until the BoardMax has achieved adequate adhesion to hold the boards in place. Insulation boards must be installed in a staggered brick pattern to avoid all the head joints of the insulation boards from lining up with each other. If a second layer of insulation is to be applied, the boards in this second layer must be installed so that the joints are not directly installed above or beneath both the head joint and the side joint. This is required to prevent thermal breaks in the insulation system. When installing tapered insulation, particularly panels with a thin edge of less than 1 inch, it is acceptable to apply the BoardMax 1 to 2 inches from the outside edge of the board. This will help to eliminate cupping or warping of the tapered board edge. When spraying stops for more than 1 minute, chemical in the color-wise mixing nozzle begins to cure and will clog. Remove the color-wise mixing nozzle and replace with a new one. If a trigger is pulled while a clogged nozzle is on the applicator, chemicals under pressure will be blocked and will cause a backup of chemical in the gun hose assembly. This is called a crossover. The applicator will no longer dispense chemical in the proper proportions, if at all, and the BoardMax adhesive will not perform properly. This situation can be easily avoided by simply changing the color-wise mixing nozzle whenever spraying stops for more than 1 minute. When stopping for breaks or lunch, or starting up the BoardMax adhesive kit the next day, the hoses should be purged, as we did when we started up the kit, by removing the used color-wise mixing nozzle and dispensing the chemicals into a plastic bag until 2 full streams of chemicals are coming from the applicator ports. This is especially important in the hot summer months, as the hoses are exposed to extreme rooftop temperatures. When the applicator is not activated, the pressure in the hoses begins to build up, like a water hose on a hot summer's day. Purging the applicator and hoses for a few seconds without a mix nozzle prior to spraying relieves the excess pressure and allows the chemicals to flow in the proper proportions. Maintaining the proper temperature of the chemicals in the kit between 70 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit is very important. If the temperature of the chemicals being sprayed falls below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the color-wise mixing nozzle will change from a clear color to a dark blue, indicating the temperature of the chemicals has fallen outside of the minimum cold temperature and should be warmed to the recommended temperature. Color-wise mixing nozzles will change from blue back to clear when the chemical temperature is back in the acceptable range. Maintaining the recommended chemical temperature helps keep the adhesive on ratio and maximizes the yield or coverage rate for the kit. This next section covers how to properly dispose of empty BoardMax cylinders. Always be sure to reference the product-specific TDS, SDS, operating instructions, and the product stewardship guidelines prior to disposal of any and all cylinders. When the chemical being dispensed from the tip of the color-wise mixing nozzle begins to sputter and/or dispense only one chemical, like a can of spray paint, you'll know it's emptying. When this happens, it's time to open a new BoardMax kit and begin the proper disposal procedure for the expired kit. To properly dispose of an expired kit, first turn off both the Part A and Part B cylinder tank valves. Next, purge all the remaining pressure and chemicals from the applicator hoses without the mixing nozzle into a trash bag for a couple of minutes to release the remaining pressure in the hoses. Using the supplied 9/16" wrench, remove the hoses that are connected to the Part A and B cylinders. Once the hoses have been removed from the cylinders, throw away the applicator and hose unit. To dispose of the empty cylinders, the residual propellants must first be removed. This is accomplished by first removing the empty cylinder from its box. Turn the cylinder upside down so that the handles are facing the ground. Point the cylinder valve open into a disposable container and open the valve top, allowing any remaining residual pressure and chemical to evacuate the cylinder. When all the propellant and residual chemical has been evacuated from the cylinder can be returned to the upright position. The knockout plate on the empty cylinder can now be removed by a sharp blow with a hammer and screwdriver. Caution! All the remaining propellant must first be purged from the cylinder before removing the knockout plate. Dispose of the empty cylinders as scrap metal or with all the roofing debris. Dispose of the empty cylinders according to local, federal, and/or state regulations.